You might.
Are we live? I don't see it going live. At least on my end. I'm like looking at my computer. This is.
No, we're good.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Oh, and I can hear you, so that's perfect. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the My Immortal Art and Talk Show. My name is Cameron, and I am the host for this evening. Also the artist, by the way, for art coming up. And I am here with Alexis. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Alexis. I am the FPA, and I'm here to just vibe out, have fun with it.
Oh yeah. Well, we will be talking about My Immortal, the infamous Harry Potter fic. So if you haven't heard about it, well, you'll learn about it now. So basically, My Immortal was a fic that was published in 2006, and it gained popularity on the internet. Alexis, would you like to read a quote just from the first chapter, or actually the first chapter overall?
I'm just gonna read you guys the whole. We're gonna have the whole moment. Let's start with the author's note. Special thanks, get it, cause I'm gothic. To my GF, ew, not in that way. Raven, Bloody Tears 666, for helping me with the story and spelling. You rock. Justin, you're the love of my depressing life. You rock too. MCR rocks. And then we got a lot of X's, so that's how you know we're getting into it. All right. Hi, my name is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way, and I have long black ebony hair. That's how I got my name, with purple streaks and red tips that reaches my mid-back and icy blue eyes like limpid tears. And a lot of people tell me that I look like Amy Lee. Author's note, if you don't know who the hell she is, get out of here. I'm not related to Gerard Way, but I wish I was because he's a major fucking hottie. I'm a vampire, but my teeth are straight and white. I have pale white skin. I'm also a witch, and I go to a magic school called Hogwarts in England, where I'm in my 7th year. I'm 17. I'm a goth, in case you couldn't tell, and I wear mostly black. I love Hot Topic, and I buy all my clothes from there. For example, today I was wearing a black corset with matching lace around it and a black leather miniskirt, pink fishnets, and black combat boots. I was wearing black lipstick, white foundation, black eyeliner, and red eyeshadow. I was walking outside Hogwarts. It was snowing and raining, so there was no sun, which I was very happy about. A lot of preps stared at me. I put my middle finger at them. Hey, Ebony, shouted a voice. I looked up. It was, are you guys ready? It was Draco Malfoy. What's up, Draco? I asked. Nothing, he said shyly. But then I heard my friends call me and I had to go away. Author's note, is it good? Please tell me. Fangs.
Okay, so that is the infamous first chapter of My Immortal. Clearly, you can tell by the writing skills that it was made by a genius.
Oh yeah.
Oh, also, I forgot to do this, but as you could tell, the description of who Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway is a little. She's a little goth, you know. She's a little not definitely not a prep. And that being said, I am going to start playing the speed paints that I created prior to this, and it will show you who Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway is. The problem is that I didn't actually read the first chapter because I'm a dummy. So some of the interpretations are a little, not accurate, but whatever. So that's the first one coming up. If you can see that, it's not showing. I don't know why it's showing. Huh.
But while you figure that out, I feel like that's definitely in the spirit of this fic.
Yeah.
You can really take it any way you want. There it is. Hell yeah.
Okay, perfect. It popped up. Nice.
Yep. I think you can really take it. Her essence is really like, it's whatever you want it to be.
It's whatever you want it to be. Like, okay, so I will say that I was a little bit more inspired by the Scene Kid look from like 2009 more. So like, yeah, it came out in 2006, but she directly compares herself to, what's her name? Amy someone? Like in the first
Amy Lee.
Amy Lee. Yeah, I don't know who the fuck that is. I probably should know who that is.
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know. That is true. I'm a fake right now. Wow, I can't believe you did that.
I'm sorry.
That was so good.
Okay,
That was so good, though.
Continue.
So, yeah, I'd kind of just base it off of Scene Kid looks. I mean, obviously, like, you can look up Ebony Darkness on Google, and then you'll get, like, a wide variety of shows. For the most part, I did not give her the white, like, face paint thing type of... I just didn't like that look. I also gave her bangs, and I kind of messed up on the hair in some of them, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, moving on. We can get back to that.
Different outfits.
I know,
she
has so many
every chapter.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. It's like, there's a goth with her middle finger up. That's probably Ebony. And, there you go. Okie doke. So, let's see. Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Ravenway. Well, she became extremely popular on the forums. Like, this fic popped up and people were like, whoa. And, like, every single time it updated, people were just talking about it because they couldn't figure out if it was satirical or not. Like, did this person really never read Harry Potter and then decide to make a Harry Potter fan fiction that was written this badly? Or was it like, is this person genuine? Because sometimes, it's like, I don't know. It's just kids these days. And there were like kids in 2006 on the internet. Like, this was very on brand for that as well. It was just so bad that people couldn't tell if it was real or not, which was, part of the problem. And I guess part of the infamy of it. Got anything to say? Because if not, I'm going to go into the whole history of it.
I just definitely remember like finding it and like not knowing what it was. It's how I was like introduced to the whole concept of Mary Sue's, is that she like creates this Mary Sue and every chapter is like, it's not a Mary Sue. I swear. It's not. That's all. You can get into the history.
Actually, before we go into that, what is a Mary Sue? Because no, like, everyone's like, okay, Mary Sue is like the typical like self-insert type of female protagonist, but at the same time, I've never truly like gotten what that is.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's just like it's a self-insert character who is it's you, but you're always like the most powerful thing that's there. You're always there to solve the problem. You never do anything wrong. You're always in the right. Things happen to you. Kind of deal is my understanding of a Mary Sue. So she is like, it's definitely a Mary Sue character where like she's the perfect character and everybody's in love with her kind of deal.
Okay, so here's my issue though. Isn't that most male protagonists as well?
Yes, so it like gets into that like female fic writers, if they write themselves into something, it's just like we all have this like internalized shit that like female, like it's that. It's big that.
It's big that. Okay. All right. So it's a little bit of misogyny in there as well, but it's still a term, so we'll just go with that. Okay. So let's talk about My Immortal and the history, the backstory, the authors, and whatnot. So the author of basically this account is Raven, right? She calls herself Raven, but her real name is Jenny, and she talks about her best friend Tara, who happens to be the co-writer of My Immortal. I want to point out that this is actually not the first fanfiction that came out with this account. They actually had a previous fanfiction where the character's name was Eternity and was extremely similar to Ebony and had a very similar plot as well. Well, at least for the first couple of chapters of My Immortal. My Immortal kind of like goes off the rails later on, but and it's funny because the authors have fights between each other, like in the author's notes. So Tara and like Raven are like yelling at each other. They have this whole conflict over stealing a Gerard Way poster in chapter 16. And then they murder each other's self-inserts in their own story. So like Tara's writing one fic, Raven is writing the other fic, and they're both going on at the same time, except My Immortal's more popular and stuff like that. And then they revive them. So it's kind of like, oh, we got back together. Not got back together, but we're over it type of thing. So that was just kind of like fun little drama in the author's notes. That's so funny, in my opinion. And then, so the plot of My Immortal. Alexis, did you like read the plot? Or do you know?
So, okay. I have a gist of some of the things that happen. Like I keep going back to, my big thing is Voldemort with a gun. Like there's some very strange plot lines that go throughout. It's mostly that like she's like, it's a love triangle, right? Like it's her and Draco and vampire, which is Harry.
Yeah, it's
right?
Vampire Harry. It's not regular Harry Potter. It's Vampire
His
Harry.
name's Vampire for the whole thing. So, yeah, I mean,
Okay. I also read. I mean, you can look it up on the wiki as well. But they also go back in time. I think they're going and they're talking to Tom Riddle, whose name is Satan in this one. So he can get back together with his ex-boyfriend Hedwig. Now, keep in mind, in Harry Potter universe, Hedwig is the bird, right? It's Harry's fucking owl. But in this situation, Hedwig is just some random goth dude. He is a sexy bi goth MCR shirt wearing person. Like that's who Hedwig is, and Voldemort is basically dating this person, which is kind of funny. Hang on, my notes popped up. Okay. Anyway, so that's basically like how this fic is going, and then people are just like raving over this, and like people in the forums are just like, this isn't real, this is real, I can't believe this, whatever. So then chapter 39 hits, and then that's when things start to like die off for a little bit, because at that time like each chapter was getting a lot of hype. Until a hacker takes over in chapter 39, and it adds their own ending type of thing. And then people were like, what? And then the account isn't active whatsoever. So people are like, what's going on? No one's really talking about it because it kind of threw everything off. And then they come back, and then they like add in like, I think they post like 4 chapters, and it's like all straight and continuous. And then it ends right there, right? But it doesn't really end. And like it doesn't wrap anything up plot wise. It just kind of ends with an abracadabra, which is, you know, the not, or like the normie version of, I guess you could say, Avada Kedavra, which is a Harry Potter term. So yeah, it ends on a cliffhanger, so no one really knows how the plot was supposed to end. But either way, like I don't think anyone really cares about that part particularly. I don't think anyone was following it for its plot. I think it's just the mystery behind it. Yeah. So that happens, and people are. Oh, and then in 2008, My Immortal is removed from the. It's just removed. It's wiped off the face of the internet. I mean, people have reposted and stuff like that, but it's just gone in 2008. So everyone's freaking out. They're like, "What's going on? What happened to this fic? Like, who are the authors?" And it continues to be like this type of like enigma on the internet for the longest time, and people are still debating whether or not it's satirical. The person I watched, the person is Redbard on YouTube. I will also post a link in the description after this as well. You should check out their internet history or My Immortal YouTube essay about it. It's pretty cool. And they don't believe that this was created by 2 young girls who were just really emo and goth and stuff like that. They truly believe that this was made up and satirical because there's so many contradictions within the characters. Kind of like how they said, I don't like anything preppy, right? Like, because Ebony doesn't like things preppy, and neither does the authors, right? But then they continue saying, my favorite movie is Mean Girls, which is the preppiest movie to come out of the 2000s, like the preppiest. And then they make a Lord of the Rings reference, which, with the background that Raven and Tara have like basically established, that's extremely out of character for them to know like a Lord of the Rings reference. Like, this is very complex for them, and they're over here like, I don't know anything about Harry Potter. It's like, okay, well then clearly there's a contradiction there. So then the internet community goes into this whole like, okay, well, who are the authors? And the people are definitely trying to figure this out. So at first, people think that it's tied to these 2 authors that kind of come up in the forums, but they're both tied to the biblical community, and they both have confessions, but they don't really match up, so that's kind of like thrown out the window. The most prevalent one would have to be the one that popped up on YouTube as well. So this YouTube account called XX Bloody X Kiss XX features a duo/trio of teens. All of them have like the black hair. They look around the same age as Raven and Tara should be. They have the eye makeup. They're wearing goth clothes. They love MCR, that type of stuff. They have the same taste, and they use the same names. So one of the girls is named Tara. The other girl is named Raven. And then there's sometimes a boy pops up, but I think you mentioned in the very first chapter that it was also kind of like they did a shout out to some kid named Jason. Was it Jason?
Yeah, that's her boyfriend who like he lights up her depressed life. He's the best part of her depressed life.
Okay, nice. Okay, so yeah, this boy pops in and like sometimes does like really dramatic, like they're just like lip syncing to like all these emo music. So people were like, "There's no like this has to be it, right?" And then so people kept asking. They were like, is this you, or did you write My Immortal? And these girls claimed, they're like, we've never heard of My Immortal. They're actually sisters. The name is Sarah and Rachel, and they were just poking fun at their goth face, so it wasn't actually serious. So the YouTubers definitely made it in a way that was comedic and satirical, but they never admitted to writing My Immortal. They said that they didn't even know what that was. So a lot of people were like, okay. Like, to be honest, that was so on the nose that when I saw that, I was like, I am inclined to believe this, like, right off the bat. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're
I
fun.
love those girls.
Oh, yeah. They're just living their best lives out here. So it's kind of this is good. And I truly believe that this was the the author to My Immortal. Anyway, eventually it gets out on like the forums and stuff that this person, that the author Tara, was active on Tumblr and loved the character Undyne from Undertale, which
Hell yeah.
hell yeah, I think is very in character. I don't know, like I'm like Undyne makes sense out of like all of them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So people are on Tumblr, right? And they're like, okay, we gotta figure this out. So then they find this one Tumblr user named Rose Christo 1. So they posted something and said, somebody else figured it out when I was trying not to say anything about it, and I'm done denying it because at this point I'll just be a liar and I'll look like an idiot. So people are like, yeah, we found this person, right? We found the author. And this author was at the same time publishing a book called Under the Same Stars, The Search for My Brother, and this true story of the My Immortal book. So everyone's like, oh my God, the author came out, admitted to like writing this story, and is writing another book about how My Immortal, for some reason, was like the author trying to find their brother. I don't know how that was supposed to work out, but apparently it like was part of their life.
Her brother was just like really into Harry Potter and also goth culture, you know?
Goth culture, yeah. So they were like, we're just gonna be the biggest enigma on the internet, and that is my shout out to my brother. Even though the fucking fic never ever mentions like, hey, if you're out there, like none of that, right?
No, he just knew who it was.
He just knew, like, off the bat, like this is definitely my long lost sister that I've never found. Yeah.
That's how I find my siblings. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Like, if I need to call my brother, I don't have his number, right? So, like, I go through all the loops to try to contact him. Yeah. So, let's see. All right. So, this author also answered some of the questions that a lot of people had, because everyone's like, okay, well, if you're the author, like, we have some questions for this fucking, like, masterpiece that you've created. And they were like, okay. So Rose Christo responds with that they were actually never an MCR fan. And people were like, what? And then that she only did so because she had a massive crush on her friend Raven, which I think is so funny. Like, like, oh yeah, I don't actually like MCR, but I had a crush, so I just made it up. I mean, like, that's one way to swoon and to like woo your best friend. So funny. And then they said that it was entirely satirical and was created to try to find her brother in the foster care system. She also said that she was Native American, so people were like, holy shit, like, this is such an interesting story about like finding your long lost brother in the foster care system who happens to be Native American. But the trail that she left and the way people found her was very... So, like, the entire time for My Immortal, the author definitely did not want to be found, and which is why it was such a big deal. And then here comes, like, Tumblr, and hang on, give me a second. Okay, here comes Tumblr, and then it's like, whoa, this person, like, makes a couple things, and their previous posts do talk about it. It's kind of like, oh, they have been talking about things that would make sense for this author, but at the same time, they're making no effort to, like, hide the fact. So people got kind of suspicious. They were like, yo, like, why is this person so blatantly out there with this information when it was so rare to find any piece of information on these authors and stuff like that. Like, the trail it looked like it was left on purpose, essentially. And that's when Rose Christo's brother reveals that his sister was lying about the entire thing. It was lying about their lives. Like, they're not a Native American. I don't know if the kid was actually in the foster system. Yeah, like a little gross, little icky on that part. By a little, I mean like a lot, but unfortunately that's what happened. And he just goes on this forum and he just says everything. And he's like, I think he leaves a couple like receipts and stuff like that where people are like inclined to believe him. And then on Twitter, Rose Christos is like begging her brother, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm like, why did you make it public? Like, why can't you just text him in the group chat? You know, like, dang. So, like, after that happened, everyone's like, okay, this is not actually the author. So we don't actually know who wrote My Immortal. This, like, Rose Christos was basically just trying to get people to read her book. And her publisher was also on board with it as well, which I think is really funny. But
yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate. That's such an interesting marketing scheme.
Right? It's like, hey, this is this is the long lost My Immortal fanfiction writer. Like, okay, that's one way to go for it. Oh, I also didn't mention that there is another person that they thought was the artist. I mean, sorry, not the artist, the author. It's Lanny Sarum. So they wrote the book Handbook for Immortals. So they worked with a company, and they made it to the New York Times bestseller, even though no one talked about this book, right? Like, no one talked about it. So everyone's like, how did this person get onto New York Times bestsellers list? It's because they worked with a company and they basically bought their own books.
Oh, yeah, that happens with... Oh, yeah. I've heard that one.
Yeah, so that was it. And then the cover art was also very... how do you say? It was basically plagiarized pretty badly. Like blatantly plagiarized. Ooh. Yeah, which was also a big no-no because people were like, you couldn't even pay your own artist to like make this, or the artists themselves plagiarize something, and that's a big no-no in the artist community. But the writing style was actually pretty similar, so people were like, whoa, is this? But, you know, it turned out to be fake. Yeah. So those are all the searches for the author of My Immortal. We don't know if Tara and Raven are actually real. Like... I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they're real?
So, I want to believe, in my heart of hearts, I want to believe. But it's just like, when you get into those later chapters, it's either like it started kind of real, and then they really realize what they're doing, and then they make it a big joke. Because those later chapters are like, they're so self-aware of what they're doing.
Okay.
But like, I want to believe that it's not satirical. But if it is satirical, it's like the best piece of satirical work ever created.
Right? Right? It's kind of like, wow, good. You really did that.
Yeah, like they cracked the code. You know? Like they really did it.
Oh,
I don't know.
Sorry.
Gotta restart the pictures.
Yeah, restart the pictures. I didn't put it on loop, which is the unfortunate part, but that's all right. It's on loop now, so it'll just be a constant art drawing thing. Once it pops up on the thing again, you know, whenever that happens. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I want to believe. It just makes me happier to live in, like, a world where it is real.
Right. I like, because, okay, it's just nice to see people and like kids who are in fandom and stuff just enjoy their lives and make whatever they want, you know? Like that was so self-indulgent, and I'm so happy for them if that was truly real.
Yeah, like if people want to sit here and pretend that they didn't make self-indulgent like stories when they were 12 about their favorite thing, you can lie.
Yeah.
But you did. Maybe you didn't publish it on the internet, but you did it.
And these girls were just blatant about it, or whoever was behind the writing. But, you know. It's just kind of fun. It's like, it's almost pure in that sense. I mean, the content isn't pure, but...
there's some
stuff in
some
there.
tough parts.
That being said, let's go into the content of My Immortal now that we have the backstory for it. I think my favorite quote is when Dumbledore goes, "You motherfuckers," right? He just says that. He just says that right out. I think Draco and Ebony are kissing, and he walks in and he just cusses the fuck out of them, which is
it's some more than kissing.
Oh yeah, they're doing their whole NSFW. They're doing the whole thing. Oh yeah, they're doing the sexy times. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in like the second chapter too. It's perfect. It was Dumbledore. It's a good quote.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Draco for a little bit. He definitely has a little bit of a personality change. Of course, the author says that they never read Harry Potter, so I guess it's not really a change if you don't know who Harry or Draco is. But Draco is a very like shy bisexual boy who is goth, and it's like, oh my god, my goth girlfriend, right? And then later on in the chapters, because I read a little bit of it, Ebony gets mad when she figures out that he used to date Harry, and she's just like, I can't believe this. And then she goes and like cries, whatever. And I think, okay, trigger warning, because this happens multiple times throughout the fan fiction. He like slits his wrist, but like in a way where, I don't know, I think he was supposed to die and then he came back and they don't even talk about it. Yeah. Not the best.
Not the best.
So
yeah, she finds out because he has a tattoo of Harry's name, which is just vampire. So he just has a heart tattoo that says vampire inside of it.
Okay, that makes sense. What chapter was that in? I didn't even read that chapter, I don't think, or I skimmed it.
I think it's only like, it's like chapter 7 maybe. It's chapter 8. It's chapter 8.
It's chapter 8. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just an interesting like love triangle. I mean, at that point in time, I think Drury was pretty big at that time. Like, yeah, I think that was the biggest one, I would have to say. And then it's like, oh, let me just self-insert myself because they're both bisexual. And then like, haha, I'm bisexual. I'm pretty sure she says she's bisexual as well. I don't know if she actually ever says it out loud, but most people had.
I have the quote where it does first say that they are both bisexual. Let me find it.
Okay.
Because it's like it's this weird part in chapter 8 where it like switches to Draco's point of view, but you don't know that. Like there's no like quote. He's not saying something. It just says like, I don't know why Ebony was so mad at me. I had went out with vampire, in parentheses, I'm bi, and so is Ebony, for a while, but then he broke my heart. And like, there's no quote. That's just a sentence in it. You don't know that it's Twitch's point of view. It's just Draco's point of view now. And he tells everyone that they're both bi. Okay. And so's vampire, I guess.
It's the love triangle of the bisexuals. There is one way to solve that, and it's for them to just go poly, and I think that just might have been the easiest way. But also, I don't understand why Ebony was also throwing that fit. I understand. I'm on Draco's side. I'm like, why are you so upset that I have an ex? Like, especially,
it's her internalized biphobia.
That is true.
Unfortunately.
That is true. Oh, that's so sad. All right. Moving on, we can talk. Okay, do you have an interesting quote you want to say before we go into any other parts of this segment?
I can find something good.
Okay. Also, I will say that when I was drawing this stuff, I was like not having it. I was like, man, I really chose to draw in the one quarter that I have art block throughout the entire thing. So I was just like mad.
I have a good author's note.
Okay.
Which is she says this one a lot. It's just shit up preps, okay? P.S. I will note update until you give me good reviews. That's it.
That's it. I love the way you said that. Wait, can you restate the first part of that sentence?
Shit preps, okay? Shit, it's like she spells it SHJT. Shit preps, okay? I don't even know how to like, and it's like, shit up preps, okay?
I don't even know what that's supposed to say.
Shut up. I don't know. Shit up.
Shit up? I like that. Shit up.
And then the next chapter, she says, well, okay, guys, I'm only writing this because I got 5 good reviews. BTW, I won't write the next chapter until I get 10 of good reviews.
Okay.
Stop flaming or I'll report you. Ebony isn't a Mary Sue, okay? She's perfect. She's a Satanist. And she has problems. She's depressed, for God's sake.
You know what? That is true. She is not a Mary Sue. That is definitely... She is her own OC. Like, she's so unique in this sense that it's just like, damn. Yeah, okay. I'll agree with Tara or Raven, whoever said that. I feel bad for anyone who's reading the captionings for this because you just can't capture some of this shit on the technology. Webinar is like, what did they say? I have no idea. We'll just say whatever.
Shits up preps.
Shits up preps.
Shits up preps.
Okay, so we're like halfway through with this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out the fact that I made this specifically a My Immortal program instead of it being a Harry Potter program, even though that's more people know about Harry Potter than they do about My Immortal, unless you're like on the internet, you know? The reason behind that is because there's how do you say, J.K. Rowling's being a little problematic right now. Yeah, just kind of like the worst overall. We can go into her controversies, but I would just like to point out the fact that if we're going to basically go over the topic of whether or not, or how to engage with Harry Potter content and the original source material, because at the end of the day, that did make up a large majority of some of our, like, I don't know, of our childhoods, you know? I grew up loving Harry Potter. I was like, dang, I can't tell what fucking Harry Potter house I'm in, like... I don't know. It took me so long to figure that out. And I'll still have a full-on conversation about that. I'm willing to talk about it, like, right now. But at the same time, it's like...
I know I'm a Hufflepuff.
You know you're a Hufflepuff?
I know.
I don't know what mine is. I don't know what mine is. Because I just know I'm not Ravenclaw, but some people are like, are you sure? And I'm like, what? That's the only one I'm sure about.
Yeah. If you're not, then my immediate was Slytherin, and that's just my vibe.
Okay.
That's just the vibe I got. But that's, you know.
Thank you. No, I very much appreciate that, but I also think it's because my personality not necessarily changes, but like the way people view me has changed since like high school going on. So like I think I had more Gryffindor energy and Hufflepuff in high school, even though, Gryffindor, because I just did stupid shit all the time. And people were like, okay, yeah. I mean, I still kind of do that, but in a different sense. And then in college, I know for a fact that people view me as a Slytherin. So it's funny to, like, hear that and then to come back to my high school friends and be like, yeah, we talked about this, and I'm kind of like a Slytherin. They're like, what? Aren't you like a Gryffindor because you just kind of charge into stuff? Or I'm like, maybe I charge into stuff because y'all don't do anything. Anyway, that's a whole completely different story. Sorry.
That's fine.
To completely derail from the topic.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
I just know I'm a Hufflepuff in my
I'm
heart.
so glad that you know, like, off the bat. And it's just like, dang, you can just enjoy your life next to the kitchen. Or the kitchens in Hogwarts. Yeah.
Yeah, I just vibe. Hang out.
Let's talk about controversies of J.K. Rowling. Now that we're talking about kitchens, I'm going to start it off with the elves. So, yeah, the elves are an interesting story because, one, it's like, okay, they're supposed to represent slavery in the United States, right? It's kind of like this whole thing. But everyone's like, okay, so Harry is this great person who frees Dobby, and then, you know, he's like a good person at the same time. But at the same time, when Hermione in the books, because this does not happen in the movies, she creates, was it Spew? I'm pretty sure it's Spew, right?
Mm,
Is it spew? Okay.
probably.
Probably. And anyway,
Yeah.
she has this whole campaign against freeing the elves because she's a muggle and she kind of like has more of an understanding of like world events, and so she's probably like, holy shit, this is bad type of thing. And she creates this whole campaign, and then no one takes her seriously. Harry doesn't even take her seriously as well. He kind of like laughs at her, like it's kind of like, I don't know what Hermione's doing type of thing. And then another one is Creature. I think it's just Creature. Anyway, he's Creature. Yeah, he is the gross Dobby version. So like he's the older one. He's mean. Anyway, no one liked him. But at the same time, Harry still kept him like as his little slave. Yeah.
Well, you have the happy storyline about the one that you like, and
yeah. It's like,
Master
I
has
freed
given
one.
Dobby a shock, and then the one you don't like, it's still bad for him.
Yeah, it's still bad for him. It's like, okay, you could have freed him and like, or done something that he doesn't have to continuously serve you, you know? It's like, okay, maybe you were in the middle of battle. I think there was some reasoning behind it where he would have gone to the dark side and like helped out the other people, but like I feel like there were other ways to deal with that, especially if you're making the allegory.
I mean, So not the brightest. Not the best.
Not the best. And that also brings me to, okay, which one do you want to talk about first? Okay, I want to talk about representation. But do you want to go into like Asian representation first, or the black and it's Irish. I think it's Irish, yeah. Representation. We can go into either one.
Let's do the Asian representation. That
one's interesting. So there's one Cho Chang. So
Cho Chang.
Obviously she's a Ravenclaw. Obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Would she be in anything else? No.
She's smart.
She's smart.
She's so smart.
She's so smart. Yeah, and then she's like grieving her dead boyfriend, and then she's like, Harry's I don't know. Harry's just kind of like the rebound, and I feel kind of bad because it's like, okay, this is kind of weird. I don't know why y'all are dating when you're clearly upset about your dead boyfriend. Poor Cedric. Anyway,
shout out to Cedric.
Shout out to Cedric. And who else was? I think it was Nagini, right? Nagini was a Korean woman.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, and any of y'all can correct me in the comments that I'm not looking at right now, which is funny, but she basically turns into a snake, and she's okay with it because she's serving Voldemort, her internal lord or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, fine. She's taking care of Mr. Tom Riddle when he's doing his hate crimes and stuff like that. Except it's like, okay, why did you tell us that she was Korean post fact? Like that's weird. Like, why is she a human? Why did you make her a human? It's not even in the story, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I think it's somewhere in the story with the later books or like the later movie series where she's like, it's a Korean woman. There's representation. But like, I don't know. She didn't have to be that. She could have been just a regular character and not the snake pet of Satan. Yeah. So, Magic Hitler. So that yeah. What else is there? Okay. I don't remember their names. The only one I remember is Shacklebolt. Do you remember him?
Mm-mm.
He is the one black character who's adult black character essentially, and he works with like oh my god, I haven't read or seen Harry Potter in so long that I just don't remember. Anyway, he works with the good guys, and okay, so there's that. But his name is Shacklebolt. Like, you couldn't have picked any other name for your black character. It had to be Shacklebolt.
Yeah, that one's that's a tough one. Maybe I just blocked that one out.
I did too. I was like on Harry Potter TikTok for a little bit, and then it was just kind of like everyone's like, holy shit, here's all the controversies. So now it's like fresh in my mind, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think another one, there's one who's a student, but his dad is absent. And it's like, okay, you just played right into that stereotype as well. Like, yeah, you didn't need to. Like, you really didn't need to. And then the other kid, the one who, like, blows shit up all the time, that's funny, right? It's funny because it's kind of like, aha, comedic. At the same time, it's the Irish person, like the one Irish kid there.
Yeah.
And he's the one that accidentally blows everything up, which I guess is kind of funny. But at the same time, I don't know if I think I'm pretty sure that's a touchy subject in Europe right now, like between the Irish and the UK.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. For the most part, I'm pretty sure they don't like each other, or at least the Irish don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else is there?
Tough. It's all tough.
It's
I
all
mean,
tough.
it's kind of a laundry list now. Like it's kind of a never-ending list because, you know, she has to insert herself into whatever she feels the need to insert herself into.
Right.
And I guess it's just kind of a where this kind of came from initially of us talking about like the separation of like what she did and then things like this and like being able to enjoy something while still like understanding the problems that
Right.
go along with it.
Yeah. So let's
Because-
talk about that. Ashley, keep going. Keep going. Sorry, I interrupted.
Because I feel like you can do that whole like you know, J.K. Rowling didn't write Harry Potter. But when you say stuff like that, you do ignore the glaring issues that are actually within the book.
Yeah.
Like, we can all pretend that, like, Harry Potter is this perfect work that has no problems, but then you have the bank tellers, and then you have Cho Chang, and then you have all this stuff that's within the actual story, and those are harder to ignore. And parts of it are a product of a time, but even then, that's, like, a hard thing to ever say. You have to be able to critique it while you still enjoy it. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to engage with content critically is one thing that a lot of people are kind of hesitant to do simply because it's like, well, this is my favorite thing. Like, I grew up with it. Like, I want to see no flaws with it, especially for a lot of people as escapism. But at the same time, your escapism has racist, like, analogies in it as well.
Yeah.
So it's not really escapism, not to at least like the BIPOC that are like reading it or watching it, you know?
Being denied a character being black by the creator.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, God, yeah. With the
Like-
Hermione headcanon? God.
Yeah, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Let it happen. Who cares,
Yeah,
right? Like,
even if you don't agree with it, you're like, oh, I never really thought about it that way, but I'm so glad that y'all saw that, or like, that you have been able to relate to my character. I'm so glad I wrote her in a way that's relatable to you. Like, that's all that instead of being like, there's no way she's black. I never wrote a black character. All my black characters are distinctly black. And it's like, okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm also a fan of the headcanon that Harry is Indian.
oh, like that.
Yeah. Because his name could derive from like I think it's, I don't know, I'm definitely not going to pronounce this right, so I'm just not going to say it. But yeah, it's like Harry can be a common name or like more of like a westernized version of an Indian name so there's that. And then people were like, it makes sense, especially since Petunia wasn't fond of Harry. And it can be another added layer of it not just being her jealous of magic, but her also dealing with racism and stuff like that. Like internalized racism. Yeah. Especially there's a large Indian population in the UK to begin with, and there was only like 2 Indian characters. I don't even know if they were Indian.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they
And
were
I think
Indian.
like being able to do that is a really important part of Harry Potter. Like, whether or not she's a piece of shit,
Oh yeah.
and we all know it. It's cool to be able to take and critically look at something while also like saying, you know, my interpretation is this, and it's how I'm able to enjoy this content. And like, whether or not the author agrees with that is a whole different thing. This is how I enjoy this content. And I think that's like one of the coolest things about Harry Potter. Because it's not as like fandom does it generally, but I feel like Harry Potter is a big one that has really like been able to take the story and make it for everyone.
Right? Especially it's like magic and stuff like that. Okay, here's what gets me and what I find funny is that, okay, so background for anyone who doesn't know, J.K. Rowling doesn't believe that trans women are women, right? She's a
Yeah.
giant TERF, and that's not a good thing if you aren't familiar with that term. So that's pretty, like, in its sense, pretty. It's not progressive whatsoever. It's pretty backwards thinking at this point in time. I mean, a lot of people have this mentality, but at the same time, she is so openly, like, turf related. Like, she just keeps saying it. She has a shop about it and she sells, like, merchandise for it. I'm like, dude, you have made so much money off of this stupid franchise. Like, you're just doing this to piss people off at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, we all thought that she was, like, this progressive, like, person, like, growing up, but at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, you showed your true colors, or, like, your type of activism ended, like, a while ago. That type of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that, and a lot of the issue is whether or not you need to or like how to consume Harry Potter in a way that doesn't benefit her. And it's like you don't have to cut Harry Potter out of your life, because, you know, it's still something that can be close to you and has a lot of meaning to you. But at the same time, it's attempting to not continue to give money to J.K. Rowling to begin with. And that brings up the issue of the new game that's coming out. So if you've seen it, it looks really cool. I personally think it looks really cool. I don't know. Have you seen it?
I have not. I knew about the app, but I didn't know there was, like, another game.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be, like, I don't know where it's on, which platform it's on, but I feel like it's PC or it's on, like, some type of console. But it's... I looked at that and I was like, oh, this would have been so fun to play. But at the same time, it's like, how do you engage with this game? Because either way, J.K. Rowling's going to get royalties from this game, because it's still her creation, even though she's not creating it. Like, the creators of said game have been like, we are distancing ourselves from J.K. Rowling. You can have trans characters in this game, right? Like, we support this type of stuff. At the same time, it's like that money will still end up in her pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, either way. So it just depends on how you engage with that. Just keep in mind, like, the things that you buy, is it going to some independent artist who also really fucking loves Harry Potter, or is it going to, or will end up going to J.K. Rowling? And how much you prioritize that is how you interact with fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah. J.K. Rowling and her turfdom. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to go into representation. So, I mean, we already talked a little bit about that, but specifically with Dumbledore, I'm personally not a fan of people who are always like, what's it called? Like, they have representation, but it's always after the fact. Like, is it truly representation if you had this whole story and then afterward you're like, oh yeah, that character was gay? Like, no one knew this character was gay, like, post whatever, you know?
It's deciding that he was in a time where it was more, like, not in fashion, but, like, just, like, more, like, I don't know. I feel like it would have been, like, more of a, it would have packed more of a, like, significance if it was actually in the book at the time than when she told us in, like, 2010.
Yeah. And that being, like, with that whole thing going on, it's like, I don't know. She did it for clout. I think that's what you were trying to say, right? She did it for clout, essentially.
Yeah, she did it for the,
because she had every opportunity to add or, like, make Dumbledore's, like, storyline, especially since he had, like, this whole storyline of him, like, falling in love with this other guy and then him being evil type of thing, and playing that up in what's the new series? What's that new movie called?
But the newest one is Crimes of Grindelwald, but I can't remember the name.
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts, yeah. They had every opportunity to go into that, but they don't really do that. They're just kind of like, oh, we knew each other, kind of awkward, and then they move on with their lives.
Yeah, and then it just kind of proves that she did it post, and it didn't mean much when she said it. Like, for them to not even put it into the storyline means that it meant very little when she said it.
Oh, yeah.
And she just said it to say it.
Wasn't
it like a tweet?
Mm-hmm. I think it was a tweet. So everyone, because at that time, everyone, like, really liked J.K. Rowling, so everyone was jumping on board with that. But then, I mean, the more it goes on, it's kind of like, okay, J.K., like, you gotta just shut up right now. Like, stop talking. Like, if you just stop talking, we wouldn't have these issues because everyone would still adore you. But the more she I think she's just bored. I think she's just sitting in the UK bored because she's like, oh, I have nothing else to do.
Problems on purpose.
Yeah, causing problems on purpose. It's like, oh, I have a game coming out, but I have no say in it because they excluded me because I was bored and I said stupid shit, and then now I'm taking this hardcore stance about being a TERF, and it's like, is that something you really want to be remembered by? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. She's an interesting person. Okay.
Yeah.
We have 10 minutes on the clock. We finished a little bit early than I anticipated. So let's talk just about Harry Potter.
I mean, we could also just talk more about, I don't know. Yeah, let's just talk about Harry Potter.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah.
my favorite part of My Immortal is that it is inherently not about Harry Potter.
Right? Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Like, I love that.
It's so even down to Hermione's character is not named Hermione, and she's a completely different character.
Yeah, none of them ever match.
Yeah, she is Hermione, but that's only mentioned in the author's notes. She's a completely different person who acts differently and speaks Japanese.
Oh, okay. Does she speak Japanese or is she Japanese?
No, she just speaks Japanese.
Okay. Nice. I love that sure 2006 representation from Fanworks.
Oh, yeah. It's just so that you can say kawaii in a fan fiction.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, I speak Japanese. Here you go.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's the one who can speak Japanese. Her name is Bloody Mary Smith. That's Hermione's name.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, she's just a completely different character. She's not a half-blood. I think her parents did die. It's just like this whole different. I don't know.
In My Immortal, did we ever experience like girls hating girls simply because they are girls type of thing, or were they bros? You know,
I think besides like their own internal conflicts that were happening, I think a lot of the time, a lot of the relationships were like they were pretty. It's written by a girl, so it's like they're buddies, they're friends. They like want to help each other out, and like they're pretty sweet to each other.
Okay, that's nice to hear. Because like, I mean, even if the author was a girl, like you still have like a lot of internalized misogyny at this point in time, like during the early 2000s. Like look at Twilight. Like we talked about this in the Variety Hour. So much of that. Yeah. So it's like, I hate Bella because, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, it's like,
yeah,
this kind of
it's like surprisingly like girl powery of like a lot of the main characters are girls. I mean, they only talk about men, obviously, because it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But there's some friendships, and she's friends with Hermione. I think it's that like Hermione is a strong character, and to like take the character, it's hard to make her just like this like background, like, oh, I hate this girl kind of character. She's always going to be like, even if she's completely different and a vampire and doesn't have the same name, she's always going to be like Hermione, and like a strong character who's very smart and like willing to be there and all that kind of stuff.
That is true. Yeah, because a lot of people projected onto Hermione like as they were young because of how strong she was, because she was a complicated person and she wasn't necessarily, I guess you could say, a Mary Sue type of thing. Like she definitely had a personality. Like that was Hermione.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I like Hermione. I was sad that a lot of Ron's traits actually went to Hermione in the movies. Yeah. It's been a while since I actually read and watched all of that. I mean, I'm a fan of it. I watch it all the time, but reading wise, it's been a hot minute. The only thing I remember that was different was like Peeves and stuff like that. Do you remember him? Did you ever read the book actually?
I read the books, but I didn't read them since like middle school, early high school. It's been a long time. And even then, I haven't, like, since all of the stuff happened, I haven't been engaging with the content as much. Like, this has been the most I've been able to engage with Harry Potter content without feeling a lot of guilt about it for a while.
Yeah, because it's just like, man, JK, why did you ruin it for us? We could have had so much fun with this, and yet here you are spewing shit out of your ass, man.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
On Twitter all the time.
On Twitter constantly. It's like, I mean, you can't really ban her, but...
They can't.
If we all just collectively blocked her, that would also be kind of cool.
Just simply unfollowed her.
I don't know. I think I blocked her because I was like, every single time she trends, it's just like more attention that she's trying to get. So it's like, there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you also wanted to bring up, what was it?
50 Shades.
50 Shades. Let's talk about 50 Shades.
Okay. In the last 5 minutes, I do want to put out my hard stance that My Immortal and 50 Shades are, in essence, the same thing. And I'm going to explain myself. So My Immortal is like, it's so far from what it was before. Like, it's such a different piece of work. It's about completely different stuff. It's like her own story, and it just really uses the characters. And barely even that uses the characters. It really just uses character names for like familiarity. But from my understanding of what 50 Shades is, and I probably could have researched this instead of talking out of my ass, but 50 Shades is, I'm pretty sure, a Twilight fan fiction.
It is.
It's a
absolutely
BDSM Twilight fan fiction. And how is that any different than this? Where you take the characters for the familiarity aspect and you think it's like cool, and then you just put them in a different world completely. It's the same thing. They're the same pieces of work, but instead of being like a satirical masterpiece, 50 Shades is a questionable.
I mean, they got published, so that's one thing. Yeah, but I mean, I just think that's really. I think like it just kind of. It almost speaks to like the effect of like My Immortal on fan fiction generally. That like, yeah, it was this whole stupid like bad, if you want to call it bad, but I think it's great. But it like has this ripple effect of like, you can do whatever the fuck you want with fan fiction now because it's not going to be My Immortal. Exactly. They set the standard.
They set a standard that you can never go lower than.
I mean, I think I've read some worse fics. I definitely have read some worse fics because My Immortal was bad because it was famous because no one could figure it out. Versus someone wrote something else that was purposely really fucked up. Like this was just like fucked up in a way that was just like, is it satirical? We can't tell. Versus like, hey, I'm gonna make you think and scar. Like this is gonna scar you for the rest of your life.
Oh well, yeah, that's worse. But I mean, like, yeah, I just feel like that's my biggest stance on everything. Is like, it's the same. They're the same thing. They're in essence the same thing. They're just a story about whatever the fuck the author wanted to talk about, but the author was just really into this one thing,
right?
And they did about that.
I also want to put in another claim to this. Okay, so we all know that 50 Shades is like this super huge acclaimed book series, right? But it's at the end of the day, it's fan fiction, right? And so is My Immortal. And because they're on the same stance, like people who say, "Oh, you read fan fiction," it's like, shut up. It's like, yeah, of course I read fan fiction. This in itself, it's its own type of art. And to discount that or to make it seem less so, it's like, oh, clearly you haven't read fan fiction because I've read some masterpieces that I have never been able to like accomplish or like get at like the same amount of satisfaction out of an actual book. That's just me.
I mean, like, I agree with you. Like, I feel like discounting something because it's fan fiction is ridiculous.
It's dumb.
And I feel like even to say like, oh, you read fan fiction and be like, compare it, like this specific My Immortal is the best piece of satirical work ever written. If it is satirical,
or if it isn't,
so perfectly written. Well, if it isn't, it's just perfect anyway. Yeah. But like, who else, if not like some fan, is going to write something like this?
That's true.
You know?
I mean, also a lot of artwork overall is fan work. Like you just don't think about it because we also talked about this on the Variety Hour, but like fandom is just anything that a bunch of people are excited about, and unfortunately a lot of religious groups fall under that. Actually, almost all of them. I don't.
Okay.
That's a very hot take. You can dispute me all
Yeah.
you want. This I am not affiliated with UCSC when I make this statement. By the way, this is not a sponsored statement, but this is my own opinion, and that yeah. So yeah, if you're thinking about it, like go to a museum, huh? Like what are you looking at? You're looking at Jesus.
You're looking at fan work.
Yeah, you're
Looking
looking
at
at
some
fan
fan
work. It's like, oh wow, I've seen this before. Probably because where was it taken out of? This really religious piece of work that everyone has by their bedside type of thing. So that's just me and my opinion. Oh fuck, it's 8:00. Anyway, so let's do an outro real quick. We gotta wrap up.
Week, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging out.
Hang on. It's Geek Week, and we've had plenty of other programs that we've already thrown. This is the last one, but if you wanted to, you can check out Geeks for Good 12-hour charity live stream. We had a recording on that on Twitch. We have a variety hour here on the 910 YouTube, so you can also check that one out as well. That's me and Alexis talking about fandoms and ranking them. We had Minecraft Bed Wars also on Twitch, and then we also have this one as well. So please check them out. We have links to that on our description, and we thank you for joining us. This was super fun.
Yeah.
All right, I hope y'all have a fun time, and we're gonna be going off, but good luck with finals. I just want to say that. Good luck with finals.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Peace.
Bye.
Okay, it's finished.